it was a really fun scene at FedEx Forum on
Oh,
Friday
gosh,
night, man.
dude.
Like, just to see Penny and the elation on his face, like
Yeah.
to see him engage with the fans and say what a difference a year makes on the mic.
Yeah. Right.
We're all thinking it, and I'm glad to hear he's thinking the same things. But this was really, I struggle with talking about the magnitude of what this means for this team, because I think generally you look at this conference and you say, this is a bunch of scrub ass teams. Like, they're scrubs. You're supposed to win this conference. You're supposed to handle business. You're supposed to win the outright AAC championship. But the problem with that line of thinking is they haven't done it until now.
Yeah.
And it's been 12 years since they've won a conference title outright in the regular season. And so with that, I think on a national scale and from people outside of Memphis, there's a downplaying of winning an outright AAC championship. But in the city, and it's at least for me, if we're asking the question, how big of an accomplishment is this for this program for Penny Hardaway? I would make the argument it is the biggest and best Penny Hardaway accomplishment. And listen, like, there's probably things that are more impressive. He's beaten Rick Barnes. He's beaten Kelvin Sampson. He's won a tournament game. He's won the outright AAC tournament. He's done that before. But I think when we talk about what this signifies, the consistency this signifies, the changes that were spurred by last year's nonsense, I think when you talk about the signals it sends to the supporters, the fan base, I think this makes it the biggest and best accomplishment of Penny's career. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think Penny's career has not been lacking of good accomplishments, right? Like, he's had 2 number 1 classes in recruiting. He's had, one, like you said, won the conference tournament, beat multiple ranked teams. It took Josh Pastner how many years?
Team in the AP poll, Houston.
Has beaten a multitude of top 25 teams, made it to the NCAA tournament twice, won an NCAA tournament game. He's had a lot of accomplishments, and I think the reason that I think this jives with what the whole idea of this being Penny's biggest accomplishment jives with me as well as it does you, is because of what it means, like where the journey has come from over the year, right? Like over this year in particular. Penny has talked about this nonstop, and we have discussed it numerous times on this podcast over the year. Just the growth that we've seen in Penny Hardaway as a head coach, right? The things that he's been able to do this season compared to last. That some of the things that we've had to, some of the things that he endured, that we all endured, covering this team as fans of this team, watching decisions being made that were, we spoke out against a little bit. It's the journey, it's the growth, it's the. And I'll say this. I said this on the Tigers Live podcast, and I've kind of fully formed this idea. I think that this was an opportunity for not only Penny Hardaway, but for the city of Memphis, that this consistent journey, the 16-2 conference schedule, winning the outright conference regular season, was an exercising of demons in a way.
Yes.
Right? An exercising of the bad juju from last year. Is this that page turn? We have discussed this so many times over the year. The ultimate story for Penny Hardaway is that he achieves the greatest amount of success at the University of Memphis, because what a story that is for not only Penny Hardaway, not only for the University of Memphis, but for the city of Memphis, the fans of the Memphis Tigers. What a story it is that the native son comes home and does what he does for his alma mater. There have been so many questions over the years about, is he the guy to do it? And I would say to you, the cherry on top of him winning the regular season this year, the regular season conference championship, is that ultimate like story. It's the turning of the page, I think, for Penny
Yes.
Hardaway and his story at the University of Memphis.
Yes, it's a new chapter. That's how it feels to me, at least, because this year and the level of consistency and the understanding of what you were getting night to night, and the players and the staff, like how remade they are and reinvigorated they are. I think the reason that I go back to what this signals. That's why it's the biggest accomplishment, because of what it signals, and what
Right.
it signals to me is more of this in the future, an understanding of
Yes.
the shoes that you're
Yes.
stepping in every day that Penny
Yes.
has not had through 6 years, but in year 7, here
Right.
we are. Like,
Here we
that's
are.
what it signals to me, and that's massive for the program, for the city, for the for the school, for the university, all that. And
Yeah.
I've been talking about this incessantly to anyone that'll listen, but I think one of the biggest storylines that we don't discuss enough, and I'm not saying you have to go hang a banner for last year's team because of this, but last year, if that didn't happen, I don't know if you get to the heights of this year. I swear, I'm telling you right now, I don't know if you do, because of the positive changes that came from the 7 and 8 into last year and getting knocked out by Wichita State in the first round of the AAC tournament. You remade the staff, made it smaller but more intimate. That was good. You got a new roster, and with that came a different thought process from Penny about, let me reach out to this reference page, see if these guys are assholes or not, which was big.
Right.
Also, cutting out the drama. Last year you have Jordan Brown coming back. In the past, you had Amani Bates in and out coming back. Tyreek Smith says, I want more NIL money. You're not paying me what you promised me you're going to pay me. And Penny goes, all right, get the hell out. I don't care. We'd love to have you, but if you don't want to get with the program, I can't have this anymore. This drama leads to bad vibes, bad locker room culture, and ultimately losses. And then, like, I'm not going to say it's directly just Penny who spurred these things, but like, you look at Ed Scott and Tim Duncan, the change that they've made. I think Penny ultimately wanted to make the changes to the roster and the staff that he did. But it's hard to admit when you're a guy as illustrious as a celebrity and a figure as Penny, hey, I had this shit wrong. Like, it's hard to admit that. And sometimes you need some guys to come in and be on your side and give you a little shove to make the right decisions. Yeah. And I think Tim Duncan and Ed Scott have done that. And they saw how last year ended. So getting back to it, I'm not saying you hang a banner for David Jones and Javon Quinterly. But what I am saying is that team made Penny so damn miserable that he made the necessary changes to make himself less miserable, and that's the results you get this year. But I fully believe that you don't get this year without last year.
Well, and if I could speak to the Tim Duncan, Ed Scott part of it as well, them coming in, they empowered Penny to feel comfortable to make the decisions that he's made.
Yes.
They gave him the power to grow the way that he needed to grow, right? And that is a huge deal, right? Like, there's a level of comfort and safety, I think, knowing that you have the people that are basically like your bosses, if you will, saying, Penny, you are our guy, now grow, right? Like, there's a level of empowerment that happens there. And another thing that I would say to that is those guys are fully aware of the growth, and they're fully aware of what this conference regular season championship means to Penny Hardaway and to the city of Memphis to this point. That on-court celebration you saw at the end of the game against South Florida, celebrating the regular season conference championship, was fully spurred and decided to happen by Ed Scott and Tim Duncan. They said, we are going to do this. Whether or not they lose, if they lose this game to USF, we're going to cut the nets and celebrate on the floor for this conference championship, because they knew there is nothing greater than, I mean, I'm going to tell you, and I said this after the following morning after the game on Tigers Live. I said this, and I'll say it here too. I've had the opportunity to cover a lot of really cool moments in Tiger sports and Grizzly sports and in Memphis sports as a whole. That moment on the court celebration, the net cutting, all that stuff, that was one of the top 2 moments that I've had in 7-8 years of covering this team.
And why is it? Because it's Penny Hardaway doing it, and you know all it took to get there.
on the FedEx
right? And I
Forum
know
floor.
this sounds corny at times, and I know it sounds homerish, but it's the truth of the matter, man.
100%.
Penny had
100%.
to fight and claw to get to this point.
Yeah, and he did it.
As insane as that may sound at times, he had to go through some tough ass moments, including last year, to get to that point, and that makes it all that much better for the fan base
And he
for
deserved
him
it.
and for the team.
Yeah, and he deserved his flowers.
Yeah.
And Ed Scott and Tim Duncan said, "You are going to get your flowers."